Okay, guys, here we go about NXT. Now, let's say something here. I may elaborate more on what I'm about to talk about before the review, but I do know, and I'm sure somebody, if I'm surprised no one has said anything yet. It probably has just recently happened and no one knows about it yet. But three things. One, Rock has now joined TKO Group Holdings. That means he's a shareholder in Group Holdings and also a shareholder probably in WWE. That's the first one. Second, we now know that Raw, if you don't know yet, Raw is moving to Netflix. Yes. Raw is not going to stay on Peacock. It's not going to stay with USA. It's not going to go to Fox. It's going to Netflix. It's going to stream there. Third, and that goes along with Raw, by 2025, I'm going to repeat this again, all of WWE's content is moving directly to Netflix. All of it. And only thing I can say is this. If no one has heard me, I've said this and I meant it. Ari Emanuel is a businessman. Vince McMahon was a guy who was in the business of wrestling and wanted to make it more like a business, not like a promotion. This is what you get. And I'll probably elaborate more on it later, but this is what you get. WWE, TKO Group Holdings, WWE, its Raw is going to Netflix. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, is now a member of TKO and probably has stock in TKO Group Holdings and probably stock in WWE, which is WWE TKO. And now all content by 2025 is moving to Netflix. You're welcome. Now, what do we got here in this show? It was quite surprising. I think that might be the title. Quite surprising, because I'm still trying to figure it out. But this might be the title. This was a quite surprising episode of NXT. Let's get this out of the way right now before we can get into the matches or the stories. Let's make it clear. Ava Raine is now the general manager instead of William Regal. Let's make this clear. I know there's going to be a few people not going to be happy about that, because a lot of people wanted Regal to be the general manager again because he was so good at it. But someone decided, maybe Triple H, maybe it was due to the fact The Rock is now a member. Again, I'm saying it. He's now a member of TKO Group Holdings. Possibly has stock in TKO Group Holdings and TKO/WWE. Maybe he'll even have stocks in UFC. You never know. But now his daughter has now gone from just being an errand girl to do whatever HBK needed to now becoming the general manager. And we had a segment between her and William Regal coming out of a Shawn Michaels office, and she says, "Thank you for being there. It was very productive," as William Regal said. "Congratulations on being the youngest general manager in history." He shakes her hand and says, "This is going to be a hard job. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be straightforward. You're going to have egos. You're going to have a lot of problems, but you should take it in stride." And she says, "I got a large shoes to fill, but I think I can do it." And he says, "Anytime you need me, I'll be there." Now, there's one or two things this could be. One or two. First one, this is only about her. Only about Ava Raine. I'm about to say Ava Fire. Ava Raine. I guess the reason I'm botching here is that a lot of people are going to explode on this. I don't know how just Alex is going to feel, and definitely about JD. I don't know how he's going to feel about it. It can go one of two ways. The first one is she's only going to be running it, and then eventually, when she's moved to the main roster, they'll switch her. That's eventually what might happen here. She may become a manager on the main roster, or maybe they may put her as a general manager of Raw, SmackDown, when or if Nick Aldis finally is no longer being the general manager of SmackDown. That could be it. They're grooming her to take over the general manager position of SmackDown, so they're letting her be here. As a general manager, she'll be doing it alone by herself. Now that's number one. Number two, we could have her doing this for a little while. She screws up lovely, and then he is forced to come back, and that is William Regal. We'll probably get her after 3, 4, 5 months, maybe a maximum of 6. She'll screw up so lovely that William Regal will be forced to come in, and he will have to take over again. That's what could happen. And also, that still could go with Nick Aldis, who will be dealing with either Randy Orton or Roman Reigns or anyone else that is currently in a position that's on the main roster. I just don't know. We will find out eventually. But that is what it is, and that's what I think could happen. First match, Axiom and Frazier versus the Wolf Dogs, really? Baron Corbin and a Braun Breaker. Let's make this clear. Did I believe this was going to happen? Did I believe that Axiom and Frazier were going to win? No. No. But I'm going to say one thing. Seeing that a Baron Corbin is a furry, if you don't know what furry means, look it up. I'm not going to tell you what it is. He looked like a damn furry with that wolf hood on. He just did. I'm saying it now. He looked like a damn furry. Not saying he is a furry, he's a lone wolf, but he decided instead of wearing a fake wolf coat or wolf cloak or something, he wore a wolf head. He looked like a furry. In the end, it was a very rough match. Let's make this clear. They were hitting each other hard in that match. They were. And seeing that spear that Frazier took, he took a when it came to Baron Corbin, when he dealt with Axiom, he really nailed him hard on one of the top turn ropes. And wait, maybe I should crank this back a little bit. I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself. I do that as a dyslexic. I kind of go from here to there. There, literally, was, how can I explain this? The opening was not a match. Axiom and Frazier just decided to beat the crap out of them first so they get an advantage. But it didn't work very long. Axiom got nailed, I think, on one of the top turnbuckles really hard. He took a hard hit. And then near the end of the match, Frazier literally got knocked out of his wrestling socks. How hard he took a hit to the mat from Braun Breaker. He took it. Braun and Corbin won. The Wolf Dogs. Wolf Dogs win. But the question's going to be how they're going to be dealing with Mello and Trick. They're next. Well, counting if they don't make it past NWO. No, LWO. LWO, passing. Let's move on. Next match. Last Legends versus... Now this, if I'm remembering correctly, Rin... what is her name? Sydal, is the one who hurt, not intentionally, but hurt, possibly, during the match, Core Jade. Core Jade is out with an ACL tear, which is going to be nearly a year. And I believe Ren Sydal is the one who did it. That's the one that was in this match with Last Legends. And for some reason, the way that match went, it looked more rougher than it needed to be. And I'm not saying that it kind of felt like someone was not happy with that situation. And someone wanted to take a little bit out of her ass. And that is a Ren Sydal. It was like Last Legend said, okay, you hurt my girl. It may not have been intentional, but I want to teach you a damn lesson. And splat. She was being very rough with her. In the end, I didn't expect anything really to be anything different, particularly what happened beforehand when Ren was talking with Fallon, because it's obvious they're going to put Fallon and her together. And I'm sure they made it a little more rougher than it needed to be, but that's what they did. Now, Miss Jackson, her wrist seems to be normal again. She's not wearing a cast, so guess what? We're now going to have a bit of a feud between Ren and a Fallon versus Last Legends and Miss Jackson. I always tend to forget her first name, so I'll call her Miss Jackson. Admittedly, let's make this clear. Is she better looking than a Janet Jackson when she was young? I'll say her boobs are probably bigger. But technically, no. I'm pretty sure that before her nose job, Janet was better looking. Let's move on. We get... Well, maybe I should... I'm just like... I'm leaving it. I'm gonna move on to... I gotta say something. Look. When you look at Dijak and you look at Joe Gacy, it's what? I think that's the best way to say it. What? I didn't want to do this now. I'm like, I should think about this, but they had no idea what to do with Joe Gacy but to turn him crazy. And then what happened last week where Joe was just on commentary and then Dijak had no reason to even start with him, but he did, and then they got this. No match, just beating the crap out of each other. Everyone loved it. I'm fine with that. They very physical. It was a very physical fight. No match. But then I'm like, you could have done something different. Because what happened to Joe Coffey? Why couldn't you done that to Dijak instead of Joe Coffey? What? You could have acted like that with Dijak and elaborate on, but no. I'm just saying. Next match. Bear Hill versus Lexis King. Let me give it to you like this. As I said last week, Bear Hill is... I'm not trying to be mean to him. I don't know how many years he's been in the business. This could be very new for him. But he didn't really understand what he wants to do. Does he want to really be physical in the ring? Does he want to dance and make it look good while he's fighting someone? But he just seems so awkward. He just does. He feels and seems awkward in the ring when he's trying to be incredibly aggressive, but then starts dancing heavily. I'm sorry. It just looks out of place. And I'm not taking anything from him. As I've said, I care about Native American culture. I care about Thorpe and Bear Hill together. I wouldn't be surprised they're eventually going to pair them together. Or at least they're going to work together sooner or later. I doubt they're going to be against one another. It could happen, but you get my point. He feels awkward. He's got a lot of work to do. But when you compare him to Alexis King, he just is no match. When it comes to looking good, taking bumps, making the match mean something, Alexis King is Brian Pillman Jr. Looks better. He just does. He just does. He's polished enough that he worked the independents. He worked in AEW, even though they didn't use him. And he looks polished here. And even when it came to Chase U and the Thea Hale, and seeing him trying to chat her up, it's Alexis King. You can tell that he's smooth. He knows how to make it work. Is he a little sloppy at times? Yeah, but it's still refined. And let's get to Chase U. I'm going to do this now. Seeing that Chase U's entire set repossessed was interesting. That means Chase U is done at least until it's reborn under the... If I'm going to be correct, I could be wrong. This can still be wrong. Under the new ownership of JC James, Chase U will have a new owner, and you'll have Andre Chase as just a plain teacher. He will be able to teach again, but he will not be able to own anything. He will be the one that's working for her. Because as she said multiple times, she's still working it out. She's still trying to get things done. I'm still thinking she's using women as escorts. But you never know. This is what you get. Next. Okay. Dragon Lee versus Scripps. Out the mud. Well, basically, mud. Out the mud sounds better. Let me give it to you like this. I can understand the story. You see him at the restaurant that the family of D'Angelo De Niro... What? I'm about to say D'Angelo De Niro. I'm missing the Pope. Tony D'Angelo. Seeing that his family gets attacked, that I believe Parker beat up on Rizzo. I believe she did. That's her name, Parker. And she beat up on Rizzo. And pretty much you see a Instagram of, or just TikTok, of them getting pissed and saying, we're coming for you. We don't care. We're going to destroy you. This is what the premise was about. The family getting back at Mud. And it was during the match. And pretty much just a big brawl. And then Dragon Lee, who should be spotlighted here because he's going to be up against Ubafemi. Because it's still supposed to be decided. Is Ubafemi going to let Dragon Lee have his moment? Is it going to give him time? Once Dragon Lee won the match, Ubafemi was up on the parapet. And he says to Dragon Lee, I'll give you your shot at Vengeance Day. That sucked. I'm going to tell you right now, that entire segment in the end sucked. Flat out. Now, I'm not saying it completely sucked, but it sucked flat out because why did you try to set up the Mud with the family, scripts in the ring, Dragon Lee trying to find a way to get Ubafemi to give him his rematch because he doesn't want to. Why did you set it up like this? What happened to trying to set up Ubafemi to mean something? I know we have less than 2 weeks left. I know. But you couldn't let him talk with Ubafemi again? In the back. At least set it up to make it mean something. No. You don't even give Ubafemi a chance to even have an interview or at least a talk with someone saying, hey, you should give Dragon Lee an opportunity. And then he tells somebody, no. I am the Lord. I am the one who is going to be the best. And literally, we didn't get any of that. It's just done. No build. And that's why I think they made a mistake. I'm just saying it. Next. Let me see here. The Heritage Cup, when it came to Von Wagner. Let's make this clear about Von. Von is a favorite now. Not everyone's going to like him, but most people do like him as a face. And seeing that Mr. Stone is using his own kids, I believe those are his own sons. And they went to the old stomping grounds of Von Wagner when he was a football player to train him for the Heritage Cup next week. I actually wasn't too bad about that. And also seeing that he made sure that when Von cursed, his sons weren't there. They bleeped it. But essentially, seeing he's training for the Heritage Cup, trying to do what he did when he was in football, it's understandable. That's what he knows. That's what they think he should do. All right. But let me give it to you like this. I'm going to give it to you like this. Will this mean something for Nolan? I'm botching here because I'm thinking of Nolan Dar. Because of what happened with Lola Vice, what happened with Elektra Lopez. What are we really going to get from and it's not Von Wagner. This is not about him. This is about now Nolan Dar. It just, when I looked at Supernova 11 sessions, it sucks. And it's not about his, how can I explain this? I have been listening and watching British comedy my entire life. Since I can remember, my mother used to let me watch a lot of stuff, and she used to watch some old movies and old TV shows that did have some British accents in it. Not until I was like 5 or 6 years old or 7 did I watch stuff that came directly from England, like Doctor Who, Upstairs, Downstairs, Are You Being Served? And I never liked Monty Python Flying Circus, or Benny Hill for that matter. I grew up seeing Benny Hill, Monty Python's Flying Circus. Didn't like it that much. Take a Letter, Mr. Jones. Stuff like that came from England, where you can hear heavy Scottish or British or, well, let me say, Scottish and Irish accents can easily sound similar. But you got a Scottish accent that is different from a Irish one. There is a difference. I can't tell 100% all the time because it can blend for me personally. I didn't grow up there. But I can in certain circumstances could tell, like, I think this person could be Scottish. This person could be Irish. There are differences. I grew up with it. I literally still watch British comedy. I still watch British stuff. And when I listen to Nolan Dar, it's not his accent that's messing with me. He just doesn't have any charisma. It's not his accent that's basically boring to me. It's just he doesn't have it. It doesn't mean he's not a great wrestler. And it's not because his accent sucks. It's just he doesn't have it. He doesn't. There's just some wrestlers just don't give off charisma, like Bob Backlund. Not until he went into his 50s, into his 60s. No, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Well, I think 50s, 40s, and 50s. When he was trying to run for president. And he was just crazy Bob going, crazy old man. That is the only time I can ever remember him really, really having character. Other than that, I've never seen someone who's so dry. And when it comes to, it's just, Marsh sounds better. I always say his name wrong, sorry. But you get my point. Now, when we get Lola Vice, it is obvious she needs work. She sounds really scripted. She's pausing a lot, either trying to remember her lines or clearly trying to sound so dramatic. She's overdoing it. It just sounds crappy. It's not fluid. It's not like this. I can't click. There you go. I'm bad at clicking. But you get my point. She doesn't sound fluid. Now, when you see, when she says, I had to dump that piece of garbage, she really was just trying to suck the life out of me. She pretty much was a weasel or basically just a leech. That's what she was mainly saying. You see Elektra Lopez, who had been the mouthpiece of Del Fantasma, I always mess that up. You know what I mean. Santos Escobar's new team again. You know that she can talk because she can talk. Admittedly, here she sounded a little sloppy, but I think it's due to the fact she doesn't really do it much on screen. I think she's a little out of practice because when she was with Delgado, she was really Elgato del Fantasma. You see, I don't speak Spanish. I'm so bad at it. But you get my point. She was on point. As their mouthpiece, she always made it sound perfect. She always was great as their manager. But since she's been a wrestler, she doesn't really do that much talking. She just doesn't. Yeah, she may do Instagram, maybe a few seconds, but she doesn't do long segments. And you can tell she was a little sloppy at first, but once she started getting into it, and she started laying into Lola, making it very clear, you ain't nothing, you ain't no, yeah, she went into the accent bit, but you can always tell that when it came to Elektra, she always knew how to make it sound important. That this girl was nothing, that she ain't no match for me. I earned it. That's the reason why Santos Escobar brought me into his group, because I proved I was that damn good. You're nothing but pretty much a wannabe MMA fighter and a Instagram girl that wanted to act? Is that how she got started? Because I never checked into Lola Vice. Whether she was a real wrestler or not, I never checked what was the full background. Because to be honest, when she started showing up, I didn't see much of a vignette. Or I missed it. As far as I know, I didn't see a vignette from her. And that shows you how much full confidence they have in her. Yeah, she's like, with those Brazilian hips. Yeah, I think she's from Brazil. She got a lot of hip, but what else does she have? Now, mind you, if she's a real MMA fighter, she can knock my teeth down my throat, which won't be that problematic because my teeth are so messed up from my teeth being knocked out of the way because of my wisdom teeth that are still here. But she just doesn't have the same charisma as pretty much a Elektra Lopez. She just doesn't. And then the fight happens, and then it makes sense. I'm perfectly fine with it. And seeing that they're going to have a match next week instead of having a Vengeance Day is understandable because there has not been enough build. But I can understand that if this match ends with either no contest or a DQ or they didn't even get the chance to do the match at all, if they go to Vengeance Day for some stipulation match, I would not be surprised. Okay, Davenport versus Petrovic. 4 minutes, I believe. 4. And I'm like, why couldn't you build this? I was hoping after the Battle Royal, they would start building these matches. No. It looks like they just ended it with Davenport. They just, if I'm remembering, nothing really substantial happened. Yeah, Davenport whooped her ass. She literally jumped on her back hard and crushed her chest and neck and everything into the damn mat. That was a rough spot to take. I don't care what anybody says. There are very few spots that I agree with. One of them I don't agree with is when Josh Alexander decides to do a flying body from the bottom, under the bottom rope, and then throws people off the ring that way. It's kind of like what happened with Biggie, who's basically doing a dive outside the ring, which is very dangerous if you don't do it correctly. And he's a big guy, so it makes it even more dangerous for him. But seeing Josh do that, I never agreed with it. And seeing this stomp that Davenport did, she could have knocked her vertebrae out of alignment with that kick, going straight down into the mat. Hopefully she's okay. But literally, now what? She just beat her clean. There was no shenanigans. So, a match that, well, pretty much a feud that could have led to a match that, if it had to end like this, fine. But no. Davenport got nothing to do now. No, Petrovic either. Other than that, she got her ass whooped. And I'm going like, really? Okay. Let's see what else. Am I forgetting anything? No. If I am forgetting, I'm sorry. Final match. Trick versus Briggs. I'm glad they are doing something with Briggs and they use JBL as a catalyst for that. Briggs wanting a shot at Dragon... basically the Red Dragon. I'm about to say Dragon Lee. You got Dragon Lee and Dragunov, and sometimes I get them a little confused. I am dyslexic. But essentially, him going to Dragunov saying he wants an opportunity. And Dragunov says, hey, think about what you're about to do because I ain't going to play with you. He says, I don't need to be playing. I just want to win. And that's when Trick steps in and says, hey, I'm supposed to have him at Judgment Day. Not Judgment Day. Vengeance Day. I think the reason I'm botching here is that when you see Briggs and the match itself, Briggs did great. And after the match is over, particularly what happened with Melo coming in, it doesn't really feel like it's going to help Briggs a lot. Yes, he did attack Trick after the match. And it was a good match. He did attack him afterward. But the problem for me is this. That now that he has this, what next? What is he going to do next? He lost his match. Yeah, he attacked. But then what now? He's not going to go after Dragunov. Unless he's going to be doing that next week, which means Dragunov is going to destroy him, which I don't think is going to help Briggs. Unless he's going to be working with Jensen as a feud. But this time Jensen's the face, and Briggs is going to be the heel if they're going to go there because they were supposed to do something with Jensen. We haven't seen him much. I don't know. So we see Melo coming out after Briggs kicks, literally in the face, the Red Dragon. And the Red Dragon wants to get into the ring and gets his hand on Briggs. But then Melo grabs him and pretty much tackles him. Gets him away so Trick can win the match. There's no interference. The match still happened. But after it's over, like the beginning of the show and here, you still hear Carmelo Hayes telling him he's trying to trick you. He's trying to use you. Look what happened when it came to Baron Corbin. Look what happened to me. I'm trying to warn you, do not underestimate and don't play his game. So this was still getting possibly Carmelo Hayes still trying to trick. And I still love that whoop that trick, and that's Booker T. I still love how he does it. He really does that. The question is going to be, will Booker T do that on the main roster? Wouldn't it be interesting if Booker T goes to the main roster because we now know Patrick, what is his name? I forgot his name. Oh my goodness. What is his name? Chris Patrick or something? I can't remember his name, but he's stepping down from SmackDown commentary team. He's not doing it anymore. I forgot his name. Patrick will no longer be. He will step down after Royal Rumble. He's no longer going to be the lead commentator on SmackDown. And people were questioning Mauro Ranallo coming back. Would Booker T or Vic Joseph go in that place? Who is going to fill in? Will it be Corey Graves? Now, I would think the best person would be Corey Graves. He should be the head commentator because he's worked long enough. He's earned it. He should be head commentator there anyway. I think he could handle it. But due to the fact he is a color commentator, I don't know if they're going to make him a straight man commentator, even though he could probably pull it off. So I don't know who they're going to put in his place. Either they're going to put Vic, either they're going to put Booker T, either it's going to be maybe Mauro Ranallo or someone entitled different. You never know. We don't know. Let's move on. Final thing. Let's make it crystal clear. When you look at Ava Raine as the general manager, she still looks like she's going to have a hard time right now. I'm going to make this very clear. She has a lot of work to do. A lot. Because she still feels like an errand girl. And she's got to prove now, from this point on, that she can be an authority figure. Look, if she can't be an authority... When you look at when it came to April, in other words, CM Punk's wife, when she was there, when she did it, she was the one that was the director. She was the one that was the general manager of Raw at one point. She knew how to do it, but she had to grow into it. When you see here with Ava, she's got a lot of growing to do. She must get it done, or this can flop pretty quickly, and they will put William Regal there. So she still feels like, and since this just started, she still feels like an errand girl. But she calls out both of the people that will be having a Judgment Day, and that is Roxanne, that is Law of Valkyria, and the hiding Paxley. She's hiding, as you already know. But let me give it to you like this. Was it an effective segment? No. It felt dry. You're putting a Roxanne Perez, who is okay on doing any commentary or any type of segment, but I'm not saying she's bad when she's on the mic. She's okay. But she's not incredibly great at it. She's okay at it. And then you look at Lyra Valkyria, who's okay. Not great, but okay at it. They're both in the same boat. When the Prodigy says they're both very similar, where one was a champ, the other one coming in, and now one rebuilt, and now one is a champ. She's not kidding. Both of them are just not very good when it comes to mic work. They need to improve. They're both very middle of the road. You could hear it in not just the tone of the voice, but the delivery. You got to understand that delivery is everything. Lyra Valkyria is trying to make it clear that I respect you, just like Roxanne, but you're not going to get this damn title back. And Roxanne making it very clear that she had to rebuild herself, that she was in the same place as her, that she's great and she's going to beat her. And then Lyra back says, you're never getting this back because you're not as good as me. It just feels like this. Their deliveries are almost very similar. I think Lyra Valkyria might be slightly better than Roxanne, but literally they're both very middle of the road. It's not the tone in their voice, it's the delivery with that tone. Because you don't hear them trying to raise their voice a little bit. You don't hear them trying to do a gesture that would make sense, like Lyra, it doesn't need to be arrogant, but she could be easily confident. And she could change the tone in her voice along with how she delivers that part. Like she said, I am better than you. Flat out. And it's not just how high you have to get the pitch or low you have to get the pitch trying to deliver it. It's got to feel a little bit of both, but also has to be confidence. And I didn't get that from her. And Roxanne, she has more confidence. But her delivery seems so even. Not because of a tone of her voice, but just, I am like this. I am going to beat you. I am going to beat you, and no one is going to beat me ever. That's even. That's not just about the tone of your voice, but how you delivered it. Even. I am going to beat you. I am not going to be beaten. I will always be the champion, but not will you. You hear I go up and I go down in the tone of my voice. Up and down. And I give a mannerism of someone that is trying to relay that I am going to be better than you. That I am better than you by the way I talk. By the expression in my face, which both of them had very even face. Their face seemed neutral. When you saw Roxanne dealing with Davenport, when she got angry, she showed her teeth, she showed anger, maybe a little overboard, but you could tell she wanted revenge. She was going to do whatever she needed to do to Davenport. But here it was just even. They need a lot of work. It's not just their voices. It's the way their faces, the mannerisms, how they deliver the lines. It just feels like this. So when I look at this match, I see two women who are basically evenly matched. Not just how they could go in the ring, but their delivery of their characters, delivery of the way they deliver their lines, the way that they talk to each other, their faces, how they give facial expressions. It just seems dead even, almost equal. So I'm not saying the feud is going to be bad. Both of them had their moments where they could go well beyond it, but it just feels just even. And that's not what you want. And at the end, they shook hands. Ava left the ring. And then Paxley attacks Roxanne Perez. And then you see the difference. Not just because of the action that Paxley took. Paxton. No, Paxley. I was wrong. Not Paxton. Paxley. You can see that the way she reacted, how her voice changed, how she delivered the lines, how her face changed. She's more better at action than static talking, because you can see she was more animated. And that is Lyra Valkyria. She needs to work on that. She needs more expression when she has to be static, just talking. But in the end, many people will be interested in this. But this is just me. Peace.